Okay, I was completely muted the entire time. I knew that, trust. We're live. We're reacting tonight. It's technically tomorrow, but we're gonna count it as still Saturday, because I said so. We're live. Last reaction stream you guys see right down here did pretty well. Um, 124 views, 4 hours. We're not going to be doing too much tonight. However, I want to react to scary videos. So what we're going to do, we're going to watch scary videos. Occasionally, we might do some funny shit. Occasionally. Not a lot, but occasionally. Occasionally. Like some. Very little. Not a lot, but yeah. My chat. Where's my chat? So I have the Nick Crowley dude. You guys remember this guy, right? Do you guys see him? Yeah, okay, you see him already. Okay, cool. His videos are out without a doubt one of the best edited / scary / mysterious videos channel I've ever fucking seen. I ain't gonna lie. Pizza got me into this guy. You know, shout out to Pizza. And yeah. I can't be mad, really. Shit's awesome. Bro's tweaking. I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit tired too, don't worry. We're gonna get through it. Gilbert, E-Man, my baby in the stream. All the members, shout out to all the members. You guys, actually, if you go to the description on the stream, you'll see in the description of this live stream, I have added all of you, shout y'all out in the description. You know, because you guys are the stars of the show. You guys are the members. You guys are the ones that pay me monthly. Thank you. Continue, please. Give me your fucking money. I'm playing now. Pizza, you shouted me. You shouted at me. Are you a member? Eat pizza. Become a member. Go become a membership. Add a member. We need members. You guys want me one day to be living in a mansion where I stream every day and don't have to work anymore? My girlfriend, you know, will also be there. And maybe we have a dog. Maybe we have a Kai Senate sized room where, you know, we have celebrities come over like Nicki Minaj who shakes her fat ass, or John Cena who eats a chicken sandwich, or the other guy, because there's others. I don't remember. I just know Nicki Minaj and John Cena were there one day. Anyway, we're live and we're doing reaction videos to Nick Crowley. If you want to join the stream and watch with me, join the VC. We'll have a VC open. I do say I hope not too many people show up to this, because I won't admit, the last time we did this, kind of annoying a little bit. I usually like to watch this stuff quiet, and I'll give my my feedback like after a few minutes. You know, we had someone who joined who was talking every 5 seconds. But yeah, you're gonna get me. I cannot read that message. What does that message say? A room in that mansion? No.
Dang.
First off, you are we're not family.
Mm-hmm.
Email, I love you, my boy. Trust. I love all my viewers. However, that's weird. I can't lie, it's just weird. You know, I don't even think I want my own brothers in my house. Then again, I probably would have, if I ever did make like a fortune, you know, I'm talking like 10 million. I'd probably give my brothers like 500,000 each and tell them, hey, go buy yourself a house or an apartment, rent yourself an apartment, and just be smart. That's all. One brother has kids, another brother doesn't. So I think they both be all okay. 500,000. You could live off that for years if you use it wisely. He'd want me though, cause I'm his day one, and he'd give me $1 million. If I made a fortune one day, I would have a giveaway stream where I give away. I probably wouldn't give away just straight money. Maybe I'll do those Amazon cards or something like that. Something I'll do Amazon cards, Xbox, PlayStation cards, Steam cards. I give away each card will probably have like $500 to $1,000 on it. If I don't know, some cards max out on 500. We'll figure it out. We're thinking of something that's probably never gonna happen, but you know we like to hope sometimes. All right. I'm wondering why it's so quiet. Is my volume working? Okay. Okay, so I was watching this one off stream like months ago, like a month ago. After the last reaction stream, I started watching these videos. First, Ethan Coolbro's the first. Everyone, drop a like. Be the first. We're gonna. I don't want to rewatch this, but I'm gonna have to because you guys don't know what's going on. So, without further ado, let's you know, we got a bunch of Warhead candies. You know, a bunch of just 5, but that's a lot to you guys. And we also have a bag of Twizzlers, the second bag. We've eaten the majority of them, but we're gonna finish them off. And I bought drinks for tonight's stream, and I also have a water bottle or two, and I'm gonna go grab that are not in my fridge right next to me, but upstairs in my main fridge because I have 2 fridges because I'm like that. Don't fuck with me. I'm not badass at all. My mom hates me. When I was 7, I'm playing that and stuff. Alright. Mike Bauer, my boy, welcome. Without further ado, let's get started with the first video. This video is titled The YouTuber Who Vanished.
Hi, baby. How are you? It's me, Talika, your munchkin.
November 6th, 2013, a video was uploaded to an obscure YouTube.
I forgot how this video started. I forgot she says, "Hi, baby, it's Talika." I forgot about that. We will all make Weeby rich so that he can rug pull us with the meme coin. I'm not Logan Paul. Fuck you. You think I'm gonna be like that? If I were to scam you guys, I would have probably already did it by now. Let's be real. 8 years on this fucking program. 8 years. And I haven't done it yet. That means I'm not doing it.
Dedication.
That is dedication right there. I'm a poor white male living in Maryland. What do you think I do? You know, I'd be happy to just have like 10 grand in my pocket right now. That's it. 10 grand, I'd probably quit my job. Even though I make a lot more than that, but I'm not Logan Paul. I'm just Logan. And fuck Paul. But ladies and gentlemen, if this stream gets to 30 likes, that's the goal. 30 likes. And we will do another reaction stream tomorrow. We'll do half on YouTube and half on Twitch. So we'll get the Twitch channel going back up, you know. And maybe we'll do some other stuff tomorrow as well. No guarantees, though. If I made 10 grand, I'd be in a PH industry right now. Not gonna lie. I think that's Pizza's goal. To be a porn star one of these days. I respect your decision, Pizza. Let me know how it feels to fuck all those porn stars. Alright, let's continue. 7K subs, then he starts the coin. Yeah. Once I get back to 7K, I'm gonna start another I'm gonna start a Weepy coin. And then it's all in like I'm gonna have like 8 people like buying on it. That's the reality, you know, and it's not sad, it's the reality. My channel, like, I have a strong like 10 plus viewers. All the other subs are just like subs from like 5 years ago that never stopped by, but they just forgot to unsub. That's all. I asked my friends how much they would need to be paid to be a PH, and they did asset free. Of course they would. You're getting pussy. Let me tell you something. Any single man out there would say yes. Only issue would be you might catch something. You might catch disease. However, you should be alright. You will be alright. Unless it's AIDS. Unless it's AIDS. You might die from AIDS, let me tell you. Without further ado, let's continue with the video, though. Let's stop talking about fucking hot porn stars, like, from the past. Some of them are Twitch streamers. You all know that? It's fucking weird. Not gonna lie, I pay for it.
YouTube channel called Sandra 3000 Casey. Its creator, 30-year-old Talika Patrick.
It's Talika.
Its purpose, to send a heartfelt message to her lover.
I got dressed up for you. And I bought flowers. Look. Flowers.
A message that would go unreceived, however, with the only viewership coming from Talika herself. November 10th, 2013. Just 4 days after posting her first heartfelt video, Talika uploads what would become her final video.
If you were here, this is what.
What the hell were you watching in your free time? Trust me, this gets good. I stopped watching it. I don't know why I stopped, but it was getting good, and I paused the video. I think I was doing something, and I just never came back. But the story was getting good around the 6-minute mark. We're only a minute into the video. By the 6-minute mark, this story gets a little interesting, trust.
Be your.
Again dedicating it to her love, and again going completely unnoticed, falling into the void that is YouTube, and settling into the endless depths of the site, presumably never to be seen again. Or at least
I know you
that's
did,
how
I know
it
you
should have
did.
gone. In reality, these videos would eventually be put on display for the whole world to see, as nearly a month following her very first upload, Talika Patrick would disappear, leaving behind a minute trail of clues, the most prominent of which coming from her previously unknown channel, as it would quickly be discovered that things within these videos were nothing like how they seemed, giving rise to what would quickly become one of the strangest internet mysteries of all time.
This just gets stranger and stranger.
The very strange new wrinkle in the case of that missing doctor in Michigan, Talika Patrick.
Just imagine that you were here with me.
I fucking love this dude's little, like, editing and, like, the intros to his videos. That shit's tough.
Before we fully dive into this, I want to first thank our sponsor, Manscaped, the Globals, and to step up your hygiene today.
Manscaped, sponsor me so I can get a better looking beard. Ah! Okay.
December 5th, 2013, Talika Patrick spends her day at the Borges Medical Center in downtown Kalamazoo, working there as a first-year medical resident. The young doctor was described as being incredibly bright by her colleagues, with an extremely promising future ahead, and to those who knew her, she was a fun-loving and just overall great person to be around. However, for whatever reason on this particular day, Talika's personality seemed different. Upon her shift coming to an end, Talika would ask a coworker for a ride to the Radisson, a hotel located just a few miles away. Her request seemed strangely frantic, almost pushy, and sensing that something may be wrong, the coworker agreed to take her there, dropping her off at the entrance before driving away. From there, cameras show as Talika attempts to rent a room, only to be turned away as she didn't have enough money or a proper ID, with the young woman having left her wallet back at her job. During this conversation, the employees at the front desk noticed that Talika appeared on edge and slightly incoherent, prompting a receptionist to ask if she was okay. But Talika brushed aside the concern and eventually left the hotel. Outside, Talika entered the hotel's complimentary shuttle, asking the driver to drop her back off at the Borges so she could retrieve her wallet, return, and then pay for her room. But when the driver eventually pulled into the parking lot of the hospital, Talika nervously turned to him and said, "I can't go back there with you," before rushing off, ducking her head between parked vehicles as if she was attempting to hide from someone. The driver then watched as she got into her car and pulled off into the night. He would be the last known person to ever speak to her.
I forgot.
On the
about this
road,
part.
Talika began driving frantically at extremely high speeds, weaving in and out of traffic, displaying signs that again seemed to indicate that she was potentially being followed, and that she was trying to evade someone or something. Her driving became so erratic that a concerned motorist would call the police and report her vehicle. But before the authorities could arrive, Talika's front left tire on her 1997 Lexus would burst, forcing the car off the road before it came to a stop in the dead of the night, stranding her 100 miles away from her home. Talika then grabbed the keys from her
I understand
ignition,
that, Mike.
exited the vehicle, and was never seen again.
911 is the exact location of your emergency. Just turn it now.
It's on I-94, the westbound lane. There's a car off the road down in the ditch.
Within minutes, police officers would discover her car parked alongside a ditch, and upon searching the vehicle, all they would find were her personal belongings like her wallet, cash, and a cell phone, but no sign of Talika herself. Authorities would go on to search the entire area for miles around, including the shores of a nearby lake, but found nothing. And with no sign of the young doctor, Talika Patrick was officially declared missing on the 6th of December. Leading up to her disappearance, everyone who came into contact with Talika that night all shared a similar story. Something was clearly off with her. She seemed nervous, even terrified, prompting some to immediately conclude that foul play was involved, and that perhaps she had somehow been hunted down. To address this theory, police dogs would be brought in to track her scent trail, which bizarrely led them from her open car door directly to the side of the road before coming to an abrupt stop, seemingly insinuating that someone had picked her up, willingly or unwillingly. Adding to the suspicious nature of her disappearance, the night prior, Talika had called a friend of hers named James Davis, who was living in St. Louis at the time, and explained to him that she believed someone was trying to kill her.
So I'm gonna stop it real quick. This is as far as I got. So all this now I've never seen or heard of. So my reaction should be genuine, not, oh, I remember that, you know. Yeah.
That she needed to get away from Kalamazoo to go visit him, and it's believed that she was driving to St. Louis to meet Davis immediately before she vanished, perhaps confirming that her concerns were in fact warranted. Given the nature of her vanishing, the story of Talika Patrick immediately became a viral news story, with a search effort quickly being launched to determine what had happened to her. But early on, this would yield little to no results, as much like the air on that winter night, her trail grew deathly cold. However, on the internet, a new trail was forming.
Hi, love, it's me.
Frustrated by the lack of answers in person, investigators started digging into the online history of Talika Patrick, which led them to their most important discovery yet, her YouTube channel. Going by the name of Sandra3000 Casey, Talika would publish a series of 9 videos within the span of 1 week in early November 2013, with one of the most infamous being a clip titled My Awesome Day, where she sits in front of her camera and addresses someone she refers to as Baby.
Hi, baby. Good night. It's Talika. I am just coming to you to say hi and just to tell you about my day.
The video certainly wasn't without its strange moments, as at one point she stops and touches her chest before saying,
Baby, I felt that.
while also going on to randomly burst out into song, which seems to last the
What the
majority of the
fuck?
video.
And now I'm home, finally. Yes. Put it up a little bit of fight, it's alright.
And these somewhat unusual moments continue from here, as each
Okay, I'm gonna be real. The singing a song like mid song is kind of normal. I think anyone does that. If like you're like listening to it and then there's a part of the song that really hits home. You're like, I know you know, but fuck.
Each of her 9 uploads follow the same exact format, serving as almost unscripted love letters to this unnamed man. In various clips, Talika even alludes to the potential relationship troubles between the two, referencing how she didn't really know what was going on between them.
I don't know what's going on, in your life and stuff. I have an idea, but I don't know everything.
but still adamantly reaffirming the fact that she wants to make things work and that she is still deeply in love.
You do your best, and I do my best, and we give each other a chance.
So in love that she even filmed herself cooking extravagant meals made for two, going as far as to set the table for both of them, despite the fact that this date wasn't actually present.
Here are all my raw materials. I don't even eat chicken. I'm vegetarian. But I want that for you. That's just
Are you? That's weird.
potatoes so far. If you were here, this is what would be your plate. Broccoli and tomatoes and peppers and cheese.
And within these videos, a few key moments make it clear that the two had actually met in person quite recently, as she points to a bouquet of flowers that she states,
And here are the flowers from last time.
insinuating that the two had likely gone on some sort of date within the days prior. Viewing her content as a whole, despite some of the more unusual moments, it's nothing all that jarring, and it really just seems to show a woman who is desperately in love. And whether she was going through some relationship issues or perhaps just in some sort of long-distance relationship, it didn't really matter, because these clips were clearly never meant to be seen by anyone but the man they were made for. And
Yeah.
at first, investigators likely thought that they would do little in the way of helping to solve this case. However, upon questioning Talika's family and friends about these videos, a glaring red flag began to emerge, and the channel was thrown into a far different light. As according to all those close with her, at the time these videos were released, Talika Patrick should have been single.
Patrick's family issued this statement in response to the new video. To our knowledge, Talika was not in a romantic relationship, and it's unclear to whom she is making reference in this video.
Not once had Talika, a woman who was said to be quite open and talkative, mentioned to anyone that she was in a relationship. Friends, families, colleagues, and even neighbors never once heard about or saw her with another man. And even digging into her phone records revealed nothing in the form of romantic texts or frequent calls to an unnamed lover. By all accounts, Talika Patrick was undoubtedly a single woman. But if that was the case, then who was she talking to here?
Bye. I love you.
Who were these loving videos for?
That's-
And if Talika's words were true, referencing previous in-person dates,
Here are the flowers from last time.
Maybe
then
it
how
was
had no one
bacon.
known about this relationship? And most importantly of all, why had she coincidentally gone missing under suspicious circumstances just 1 month after these strange videos were made? Putting all this into consideration, the suspicious activity on the night of her disappearance, moving as if she was running away, and the videos made for someone who seemingly didn't even exist in her own life, one theory began to emerge, a theory that pointed straight to foul play. Perhaps Talika had gotten involved in some sort of ill-fated secretive relationship, only for things to turn sour, leading to Talika being hunted down and kidnapped, thus explaining why she seemed to be fleeing on the night of her disappearance. With this in mind, investigators began to dig deeper into Talika's online footprint in a desperate search to uncover who this man truly was, believing that he may very well have some involvement in this disappearance, though nothing could have prepared them for the drastic and highly unusual turn that they were about to face.
Oh no.
Tonight, yet another twist in the mystery of the missing Kalamazoo doctor.
Target 8 uncovered hundreds of tweets allegedly posted by Talika Patrick in the weeks before she went missing.
To those who knew her, Talika was a well-put-together, extremely intelligent woman who was clearly of sane mind. But the discovery of her Twitter accounts began to paint a slightly different picture. In total, investigators
It's always fucking Twitter. That's insane. Always Twitter. You think you know someone until you realize they have a Twitter, and then I think it's funny as shit, though. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna stop talking.
would find 5 accounts that had all been active at different times throughout 2013, each of them belonging to
Oh, damn, this is back in
Talika, and each of them
2013.
having thousands and thousands of tweets, showcasing incoherent ramblings as if she was posting every single one of her thoughts. Oftentimes even having conversations with seemingly no one at all, constantly saying things like, "Hi my friend, how are you?" and "Everything okay? Just woke up, sorry, to which no one would be specifically tagged and no one would reply. And the deeper you scroll, the stranger things get, as much like her YouTube channel, she spends most of her time referencing her love interest, stating, "Well, I felt you a little bit yesterday. Last night after you messaged, I felt you thinking about me. And hope you have a wonderful day. Love you." Much like her previous videos, these tweets would fail to gain any semblance of a response, which seemed to push her more and more into madness, creating more accounts and tweeting out even more frequently, typing messages as if she were expecting someone specific to find her. "Should I start another page? Look for your friend. Let me know when you find her. Did you find me? I have been messaging you for the past 2 days from another Twitter account. I thought you'd find it, sigh." And this is just a minuscule glimpse into her posting, as these accounts hold an impossibly vast amount of information with so many unusual moments. But by far the most bizarre detail to come of all these tweets was one name in particular, one of the only specific names mentioned across all of her pages, which she brings up over and over and over again. Marvin Sapp. At Marvin Sapp, good morning. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Again, Marvin Sapp, good morning. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. At Marvin Sapp, good morning. Don't be sad. God never puts more on us than we can bear. All 3 of these messages were posted within the span of 24 hours, and they were far from the only mentions of the famed Grammy-nominated gospel singer. Sometimes she would make blatant references to him and his music, oftentimes using his lyrics to point to a supposed connection between the two. And though it's hard to prove outright with her tweets alone, it quickly became apparent that Talika's love interest, with whom she had seemingly tweeted to thousands of times, was in fact Marvin Sapp, introducing the possibility that Talika was perhaps just a crazed fan, which would make a few of her next tweets all the more disturbing. "I have relocated to be with you, so I really hope you want me, so we can be in love and get married and have a couple babies. And, as you may or may not know, I attempted to visit you yesterday." Her messages were obvious.
Oh, shit. "I attempted to visit you yesterday. Just letting you know." Just imagine you look out your window and there's just like crazed woman standing out there in her car. Just like, that's... Don't tell me she's gonna be just a crazy person. And like this video's gonna end with like her like killing herself or some shit.
Concerning, as it began to grow apparent to investigators that this relationship Talika had mentioned was solely a one-sided affair. After all, most would have assumed that someone as famous as Marvin Sapp would have no idea who this woman was. But this actually wasn't the case, as Sapp...
Oh shit. Big story turn right here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's watch.
Did in fact know of Talika, only for all the wrong reasons. Around the start of 2013, Talika began obsessively messaging Sapp and tweeting out to him in some sort of code, believing that the two were somehow spiritually connected and that he would eventually come to her, even claiming on her social media that she and Sapp were actually married, something that Sapp would eventually take note of, but never respond to, assuming that the woman may have been mentally unwell. However, when this failed to get a response, Talika then began to message Sapp's children, further angering the singer and increasing his level of concern. And when that too failed to get a response, Talika would pack her bags and relocate from California all the way to Kalamazoo, which just so happened to be the exact location of Sapp's congregation, as well as his home, a home that Talika would eventually visit in the dead of night, confirming that her tweets referencing the matter were in fact true. Talika's behavior had gotten so serious that Sapp himself convinced authorities to issue him an order of protection against her in September of 2013, pointing to...
Oh shit. Okay. So he was aware of her, the bitch, and filed for a whatchamacallit? I know what it is. Where you don't want someone near you or something like that. Babe, you know what those are called? Just got her headphones in, watching something. Okay.
To over 400 pages of unwanted correspondence coming from
400 pages. Are you fucking kidding me? Restraining order. Yeah, restraining order. Dude filed a restraining order against this person. That's gotta be some... Oh, that's creepy as shit. Like, I don't know who this dude is, and like, all respect to him, but he seems like a pretty famous dude, opera singer or whatever, church man. But like, if you are capable of getting a celebrity's attention, and this celebrity is like, world renowned, which I'm guessing he is. That's crazy. That's crazy shit. And if they file a restraining order against you, then I don't know how to explain. It's just, this is insane. I was not expecting this to go. Trust. This video took a major turn. Like, this seems like something I should remember. 2013, I was 11. I don't remember this at all. I don't even remember hearing about this. Maybe I can bring it up to my mom or something tomorrow. But holy shit.
From her, Sapp would also ban Talika from attending his church ever again. This, however...
Again? Oh, so she attended his church. So he's seen her. Miss Patrick, after careful review of incidents involving continuous interaction with Pastor Marvin L. Sapp's family, such as inappropriate emails and pictures sent to Pastor... Pictures? She's sending whole titty pics and shit to this dude? Holy fuck. Sapp's residents, and the continuous attempts to talk to interact with Pastor Sapp's children as a result in removing your name from our membership roster, and as a result of your unauthorized conversations and methods and various communication attempts to interact with Pastor Marvin Sapp's children has given them a feeling of discomfort. As a result of your reactions, a personal protection order, PPO, has been issued to detail. It's pretty much a restraining order. Damn, imagine your idol has a restraining order on you. Damn, September 17th, 2013. God damn.
Only heightened her delusional state and would lead to her posting these videos on her channel, as by this point she was so far removed from reality that she truly believed that the two were lovers.
And she was a doctor, bro. All while this was going down, she got a restraining order against a famous pastor. She was a doctor saving fucking lives. Imagine this woman comes in, saves your life, just to go home and her to start stalking this dude. This is probably one of the most interesting stories I've ever fucking heard of. I'm mad it's the first time I've seen this. This video's been out for like 2 years, I think.
And that Sapp was communicating with her telepathically and was somehow always with her. By the time December had rolled around, Talika's tweeting grew increasingly dark as she began to write about demons and how they were affecting her. Writing on the 4th of December, "You reach me through a demonic portal. That gives demons power over me and dilutes my spiritual authority. Please understand that I must protect myself spiritually." The very next day, Talika would go through each of her Twitter accounts, delete everything, and vanish alongside of the road.
Oh, shit.
The discovery of these accounts adds a whole new element to the case and seems to point to one obvious conclusion, that at the time of the disappearance, Talika was likely in the midst of some sort of severe psychotic break. But this still fails to explain what exactly had led to her actual disappearance. This question spurred on 3 prominent theories. One, that she had simply gone off into the woods alongside of the road attempting to hide from someone that just wasn't actually there, and instead was merely a figment of her delusions. And when hiding in the woods, she then succumbed to hypothermia, as wintertime in Michigan is notoriously cold. Two, that in
Michigan.
the midst of this psychotic break, she decided to leave all her belongings aside and essentially run away, hitching a ride to somewhere far away, possibly to start a new life. And finally, 3. The theory that she truly was being followed, and that someone had grabbed her alongside of the road leading to her disappearance. As after all, that's exactly where police dogs had lost her scent.
Later, a bloodhound tracked her scent directly from the car to the side of the road, and from there, the trail goes cold.
Some would even further theorize that perhaps the victim of Talika's stalking may have had a hand in it, as by this point, Sapp was well aware of the woman and highly concerned with her behavior, which alone gave him a clear motive to protect his family. While others pointed to more scandalous affairs, that the two had actually been romantic in a time past, only to suffer from a major breakup, thus causing Talika's mental health to spiral, with the relationship potentially putting his career in jeopardy, as who knows what Talika might say or do. And given his wealth, he certainly had the means to make this happen. However, this theory never really went further than mere speculation, and police would adamantly state that Sapp was merely a victim of stalking, and was never considered a person of interest in this case.
The pastor is nothing more than an innocent victim of an apparent stalking.
And on a similar note, there was another early suspect that would emerge in the public eye, Talika's ex-husband, Ismael Calderon, to whom she...
There's a fucking other dude in this shit? God damn, what the fuck happened to her, bro? Jesus.
He had been married to for 4 years before splitting up in 2011. Immediately after the two had separated, Talika had gone onto an online nursing forum and accused Ismael of emotionally and verbally abusing her throughout their relationship, leading some to question whether he too had a hand in Talika's disappearance, perhaps as a means of silencing her or getting revenge for their relationship ending. But much like Sapp,
30.
Calderon was never actually
They said she
labeled
was
as a
30 when she went
suspect.
missing.
In fact, it appears that there was only ever one real person of interest in the minds of police, with that being James Davis, the last known contact that Talika had through her cell phone, as he was the one that Talika had called explaining that she was
James
fearing
Arthur
for her
Davis.
life. Though given that he had lived so far away in St. Louis, he too would be cleared of any wrongdoings, and instead was eventually labeled as just a concerned friend. And with no suspect, no body, and no real concrete clues, speculation is really all we'd be left with. At least until April 3rd, 2013, when everything would change.
First tonight, the developments continue to come in about a body found in a small Indiana lake.
This was not the answer anyone wanted. Investigators are certain the body found in an Indiana lake is that of Talika Patrick.
Nearly 3 months after her disappearance, a fisherman would come across the body of Talika Patrick floating in Lake Charles, in the general vicinity where her car was found abandoned, with an autopsy eventually confirming her cause of death, drowning, with no signs of trauma evident on the body. Putting the pieces together, investigators theorized that Talika had suffered from a manic episode, causing her to believe that she was being followed and even hunted when she hurriedly drove off. And perhaps the shock of getting a flat tire led to her believing that someone was attempting to attack her, causing her to immediately grab the keys and flee from the car, fearing for her life. Without a flashlight and running in complete darkness, it's believed that Talika accidentally ran straight into Lake Charles, which is a body of water located directly parallel to where her car was found, just a few hundred feet away. And tragically, that night the water was incredibly cold and could have caused almost immediate hypothermia, with the lake actually completely freezing over that very night, hiding her body in an icy tomb and forever sealing her fate. And as for the trail she left behind on the internet, well, despite being initially labeled as a profoundly disturbing internet mystery, with these videos being considered key pieces of evidence within her case, law enforcement now believe that this was all just merely a coincidence. As though her uploads and tweets do show evidence of her stalking, this stalking to them seems unrelated to her actual vanishing, and rather than being viewed as clues pointing towards foul play, police now view these videos as apparent signs of Talika's fractured mental health. This was the official explanation given for the disappearance of Talika Patrick, a tragic accident triggered by untreated mental illness. Although, of course, some are still skeptical, including Talika's own family, who point to several unexplained inconsistencies, like her scent trail leading directly to the road, which was the opposite direction of the lake, and the fact that the body of water where Talika had been found was supposedly thoroughly searched on the night of her disappearance, and later even probed with sonar technology on 2 separate occasions, all of which yielding absolutely no results, despite the fact that that body of water is so small that most in the area actually consider it to be a pond, as it's so minuscule that it's not even labeled on Google Maps or Earth, which makes it all the more unusual that she wasn't discovered there sooner, prompting some to believe that she may have been kidnapped and killed elsewhere before her body was later dumped in the water to give the illusion of an accidental death. Another unknown in this case is what actually triggered her manic episode, as many would assume that something must have happened that led to her believing she was in imminent danger, with some believing that it may have been a threat from her ex-husband or even Marvin Sapp. But according to all witnesses around her that day, nothing at all out of the ordinary was reported that may have sparked this fear, and nothing would be found on her cell phone as well, leaving the true cause of her episode to be unexplained to this day. The family was so distrusting of the initial investigation that a second autopsy would eventually be conducted, which would go on to show that Talika had water within her nasal cavity, a detail that to the pathologists proved for certain that she had in fact died by drowning, which officially ended the police investigation for good, with one investigator stating that,
I do believe it's probably as solved as it's going to get.
Though to this day, we're still left with many unanswered questions, and for some, the mystery lives on.
Well, I hope you have a good night. Bye. I love you.
Wow. I won't lie to you. That was probably the most... I'm not going to say disappointing, because like it's sad she passed and all that stuff. But I kind of felt that was not the ending I was expecting. I was expecting her to be been kidnapped, maybe manhunted. She drowned, which is terrible news, and that's gotta be one of the wildest stories I've heard and have watched on these videos before. So what do you think? I mean, they found water in her nasal cavities and stuff like that, which is an indicate that you died drowning. Water got into your... water doesn't just go into your... If you go in water, it just doesn't go through your nasal cavity like that. You would have to be underwater, and like water would have to be, you'd have to be there for hours. Little hours or days. I think for the way everything was going, especially with all the events and that was going on, the ending was unexpected since yeah, it felt like it was gonna be something it was not something we expected, but something that was murdered. She was killed. Not all this evidence and all these people and all these men that she's been talking to. She drowned. That's crazy shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think she was kidnapped. I think she might have been I don't know, because they said that the dogs led them down a trail, the road, and it stopped. She might have been picked up in a car. They said that didn't look like there was any bruises or anything on her body. She might not have been physically abused, but she could have been I don't know, she probably could have been she probably could have died due to malnourishment or something like that. Something not eating or drinking anything, and she died, and then they tossed her body in the river. Someone kidnapped her, kept her in a room, didn't hit her, didn't abuse her, but they kept her locked up. She dies. Boom. Toss her in the river. Then they find her months later. But then again, they did say the river froze, and her body could have been easily under the ice. But they said they also did, back-to-back days, they did, you know, scanning and stuff, and they checked that little pond, the little, you know, area. And based on the Google images, that pond looks probably maybe like the size of a football field, maybe 2 football fields, which, to anyone, if you're not a sports fan or not, you've seen a football field before. They're big, but like you could walk from one side of a football field to the other in less than 2 minutes. You know. So just imagine walking across. Probably take you 5 minutes to walk across. That's not a lot. That's a easy walk back and forth right there. That's insane. All right, something more horrific. Not gonna lie, but it's just a natural death, I suppose. That's all we can rule it. Pretty much, it's a natural death. See, I remember watching a lot of these. I remember watching this one, this one, this one, this one. I watched this one. No, I didn't. Actually, no, I did watch this one, unfortunately. I remember watching this one. We just got done watching that one. We've watched this one before. Let's watch his newest one. The YouTube's Darkest Mystery. The Evolup. You know the elevator game story? You're talking about the Asian girl that went to the elevator and looked like she was like being followed, and then they found her in like one of the water tanks on the roof. I actually remember that happening. You know, I remember hearing about that in real life. Like that was one of those things that, you know, me as a kid and all my neighborhood kids and friends, we all heard about that and we were all like fucking shocked. Like, that's one of the very few things I feel like there's probably a video on this channel that I can look back and remember. Because that was probably one of the biggest mysteries ever. They probably still not, you know, discovered. It's probably still a mystery. I think the possibility of someone did that to her and they got away with it makes the ending more like unsatisfying. It does. It's like, you know, I don't know, like it feels wrong to say I expected a different story. I expected her to die a different way. It feels wrong to say. At the same time, it's just the interest and like the mysteriousness the video had on me. After we watch this, we're gonna watch a couple of these ones. I haven't seen these ones, and then a few more things. We'll probably call it a night. Love you, baby. Let's watch the mysterious, the YouTube's Darkest Mystery, Evolup. Very interesting start.
August 5th, 2011. A channel appears on YouTube serving as a promotional page for an up-and-coming company called...
Damn, I'm not gonna lie to you. 300 subs off 4 videos is fucking insane. I know that's completely off topic, but... Jeez, I think after 4 videos I had maybe like 5 subs. I'm a terrible person.
Aviloop,
I mean, how did
boasted
that happen?
unbeatable deals in the world of aviation. That same day,
Yeah.
4 videos were uploaded, each showcasing young women dressed as flight attendants, detailing some of the many services that Aviloop provided.
This already took a dark turn. 4 young women in airplane outfits with small skirts. I can already see how the story's gonna end. I can already see it.
These would be the only videos ever uploaded to the channel, as from that moment on, the page was abandoned, giving Aviloop a lifespan of just 1 day. One day is all it would take to set in motion a mystery that remains unsolved to this very day. A mystery surrounding the company at the core of this channel and the services that it allegedly provided, with no one being able to answer the seemingly simple question, what was Aviloop? The more you search for answers, the more deranged this trail becomes. This is the story of Aviloop, YouTube's darkest mystery.
And there's no catch. So what are you waiting for, Captain?
This is scary. I'm already scared. I'm scared as shit.
Welcome to Aviloop, your collective find website for anything aviation.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on. We can. Can we please move on from this? I'm good.
Formula for Aviloop's content was simple. A young woman stands in front of a static white background dressed in a flight attendant's outfit. They refer to themselves as deal attendants, and their job seems to be sharing information about this new brand, Aviloop.
We offer deals on flight lessons, pilot accessories, fuel, FBO services, charter flights, and even small aircraft. You don't see that very often.
The brand marketed a number of unique aviation-related services, making them appear as a one-stop shop for anyone in the industry or just anyone interested in flying. Aviloop claimed to do it all, and at unbeatable prices too.
Our deals are usually 50 to 90% off.
Promoting deals of 50 to 90% off. It hardly seems like anything
50
mysterious,
to 90%
just your standard
off.
subpar ad from the early 2010s. But the more you
these are
watch, the
shorts.
less clear it becomes what exactly Aviloop did. They left their business incredibly vague. There were no prices, no locations, and rather they just listed a bunch of flying buzzwords, offered at deals that seemed impossible. For example, they list fuel supply among their offerings, but how are they actually getting the fuel and providing it at 50 to 90% off? And where in the country or even the world are they offering it? It just doesn't seem realistic. What they're saying sounds fine on the surface, but the more you think about it, the less sense it really makes. It just seems too good to be true, not to mention how bizarre it is that this unknown company could come in and offer literally anything you could want that's flying related, with such exorbitant deals. Admittedly though, this is easy enough to ignore, and play off as an ineffective or even deceitful advertisement. But there was something else that was much harder to ignore about these commercials. With that being, the deal attendants themselves. Despite Aviloop claiming to be a professional aviation business, it's difficult not to notice how cheap these women's outfits appear. They're clearly costumes rather than real flight attendant uniforms, and they're clearly over-sexualized too. They're essentially dressed as fetishized versions of actual flight attendants, which is bizarre as one of the services that Aviloop claims to provide is staffing for flight crews, which would include actual flight attendants. Yet, for whatever reason, they chose to dress these girls in seductive costumes. If they were trying to make these advertisements look professional, they were failing miserably. And it wasn't only the outfits that had a strange sexual undertone to them. It was also the script that the girls were reading.
Whether you want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or just see more girls like me,
Or to see more girls like me.
Aviloop can help.
Aviloop can help.
So what are you waiting for, Captain?
And remember Top Gun? Clearly your attractiveness increases with every flight under your belt.
Bizarrely, the videos themselves were filled with sexual innuendos.
Anyone who claims that humans were not meant to fly never experienced the thrill of their own successful landing. Get ready to fly big boy airplanes.
They were clearly trying to be more than a little flirty, which goes hand in hand with the outfits that they were donning.
Yeah.
Now, some might argue that this was a sign of the times. In 2011, edgy and over-sexualized marketing was still very much in the norm, with several major companies building their entire brands around the approach. But the only problem here is that the videos made it unclear what Aviloop was even supposed to be offering. Despite saying a lot, the lack of details made it entirely ineffective, like the business itself was an afterthought, with the focus instead being on these women. In fact, even in the channel's description, they simply wrote, "Meet Aviloop Deal Attendant." This is the official page for a brand new company trying to promote its services. And that's all they had to say. That's how they marketed their entire
Just
company.
click the link.
Making some wonder what was actually the role of these deal attendants, and what was actually the purpose of Aviloop.
The first and most likely theory at this point is that Aviloop was an overambitious company that used over-sexualized marketing to build intrigue around its brand, at a time when others were doing the same thing to great success. Maybe they weren't even off the ground yet and over-promising on services that they hoped to one day be able to provide. But for the time being, we're just throwing out there to get more people to visit their website. But with such a focus on these deal attendants, and just how strange these videos come across, some were left with a different theory. That rather than Aviloop using sex to sell their service, maybe sex was their service. The theory goes that Aviloop was a front for pornography or even prostitution, poorly hidden under the guise of this fake aeronautics company. This would explain the prominence of these deal attendants, as they themselves may have been the actresses or prostitutes. And it also explains the lack of information about the company itself, as the reason their deals and services don't seem to make any sense was because they weren't actually offering them. It was all just a cover-up. And honestly, just going off the eye test, this is how the page comes across. But there are other details that make this theory a lot more compelling. For starters, in numerous videos they mention an unusual feature of their website, that users can vote for their favorite deal attendant and win prizes as a result.
You can even vote for your favorite deal attendant and win special prizes.
With one of these special prizes later being revealed to be a one-on-one video call with one of these deal attendants. This shows that the deal attendants weren't just for marketing, they were a core part of the services offered to Aviloop users, making one wonder what was actually happening on those video calls, and was it perhaps something sexual? And it goes even deeper than that, as there's a reason why I mentioned prostitution specifically in this theory, with that reason being a line mentioned in one of these videos.
To purchase this deal, you must hold at least a private pilot license and a current medical certificate. Don't miss out and click on that big blue button. You know you want to.
The deal attendant mentions that all customers needed to provide an up-to-date medical certificate. Now, this isn't something that's necessarily unheard of in the aviation world, but it certainly isn't the norm, at least from what I could tell. But in the context of this theory, it makes perfect sense. If they truly were operating some sort of prostitution ring, then their customers having an up-to-date medical certificate would be imperative to preventing the spread of STDs. It's strange enough to make this theory feel legitimately possible, but even if it wasn't true, it seems obvious that there was something off with this channel, and we haven't even discussed the strangest part of it all. In a few videos, you can hear unusual sounds in the background.
And you want to add multi-engine to your Pretty Green license, this is your opportunity to do it at 50% off.
Yeah, that was a moan. That was a loud moan. This is a porn site. This is what this is.
Multi-engine to your Pretty Green license, this is your opportunity.
Yep. Someone in the background just got a 18-inch dick shoved right up their ass. That's a lot.
To your Pretty Green license, this is
I like how he puts on a height.
Pretty Green license.
Moaning. This is not good.
This is...
In the background, you can hear what appears to be someone moaning in a blatantly sexual manner.
Brody, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. 2 inches ain't gonna do it to a woman. I mean, unless she's faking it. Unless she's faking it, you know. 2 inches is not gonna make that noise. Am I right, babe? She almost choked on her drink. I'm sorry. Finish your drink. I'll talk to you. We'll talk. Love you.
Love you too, baby.
Which was loud enough for even the deal.
My 3.5 inches does the job.
Attendant to take notice. It's very unusual, and certainly not a sound that could just accidentally happen on a typical film set.
Which makes it all the stranger that another inexplicable noise was heard in the background of a different video. And this one left viewers far more distressed.
You want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help. Or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help.
Is that a dude saying "oh shit"?
More girls like me? Aviloop can help.
That was the first video was a girl moaning. This one is a dude nutting. That is, as the nut is coming out. That is exactly what a man says, you know. Oh!
Some believe that this is yet another sexual moan, while others swear they can hear a specific word. The word, help.
Oh, that's not what I accept. Okay, it could be help too. You know, it could be help. What? They call him the slab. Damn, 14 inches. Why? That's insane, bro.
It's incredibly concerning, especially if this prostitution theory is true. I mean, there's just so many implications to it.
Given the link between prostitution and human trafficking.
But again, this could all be part of the marketing. Maybe this was all just a ploy to get people to visit their website, roping you in with these sexualized, creepy, and even concerning videos that almost demand that you dig deeper. Well, if this is the case, then surely visiting their website would help put this mystery to bed.
You're gonna get hacked.
At the time these videos were uploaded back in 2011, those visiting the Avi
2011?
website met with a rather lackluster experience. The homepage was dull and uninviting, and seemed about as vague as the videos promoting it. However, they did have an About section that attempted to describe the service more in depth. There, they mentioned that the primary goal of Aviloop was safety, as they believed that making training and other aeronautic services more accessible could in turn help prevent accidents, which strangely was never even hinted at in their videos, and is never mentioned again on any other portion of the website. But it was in this About tab that they listed even more services that they claimed to provide. Services like navigation equipment, headsets, and pilot vacations, among many other things. Basically anything even remotely related to flying, they sold it. Or at least claimed to, and they insisted that they did so cheaper than anywhere else, by using collective bargaining, a process that they would go into greater detail about. Basically, Aviloop acts as a third party, partnering with aviation businesses to promote unique deals on their site. Each of these deals has a quota that must be hit for it to actually go through, so if enough people buy the deal, the quota is reached and everyone gets a voucher to do or receive whatever they paid for. But if the deal doesn't reach its quota, then everyone is refunded and the deal is voided without any cost to the users or the business.
What a great deal.
Aviloop was the middleman, which could explain how they managed to offer such impressive deals and such diverse services. Though again, this is just what they were saying, begging the question, was anything actually being sold on Aviloop.com?
No.
Well, there actually was. The deals were sorted by general locations, and most consisted of flying lessons, museum trips, or even temporary tattoos. However, there was something unusual about these listings. Bizarrely, almost every deal on the site was marked as completed, each having ended in 1969, which obviously wasn't possible. There were only a select few deals throughout the entire website's history that were ever even active, and even then, there didn't seem to be a way to actually purchase them. This end date of 1969 was either some sort of glitch, or it was intentionally set that way, as the year just so happens to be yet another sexual innuendo. So what should prove the company's legitimacy actually only makes this company seem more suspicious. It was like they were trying to make it appear as if they were selling all these different things, yet in reality they were hardly offering anything, and what they were offering wasn't even available for purchase. This set me on a hunt trying to find any sort of testimonials or reviews from any Aviloop customers, but strangely, I couldn't find a single one. In fact, the only proof that I could find that anyone actually used the service was an Aviloop patch that I found floating around on eBay. And the only reason that this is at all significant is that these badges were included in most of the offers on the website. But this isn't substantial in any way, shape, or form, and it's clear that the seller wasn't actually a customer and was instead a patch collector that must have somehow obtained it, making me question if anyone actually ever bought something from this.
Imagine you are a patch collector and you have one of these patches, bro. That's I don't know if that's creepy or if that's like epic.
Website, and if this whole marketplace was really just a ploy, which takes us back to that lingering theory. Just like the Aviloop channel, the website featured these deal attendants, and just like the channel, they seemed to be the primary focus. Their involvement was plastered all over the website, with the whole business model appearing to hinge on their involvement, which the site was not afraid to outwardly admit. What is the first thing you look for on our deal pages? We understand. Go ahead, check out our deal attendants. They sure are stunning. Vote for your favorite deal attendant for a chance to win a one-on-one VIP video chat with one of the girls. You will find our models are not only beautiful, but also fun and interesting to talk to. Just have fun. Feel free to bask in the glory of your win, and be the envy of your friends. After all, not everyone gets to brag about video chatting with supermodels. The process of voting for the best deal attendant was something that they heavily pushed, going as far as to reward one voter each week with the aforementioned private video call. And when discussing these calls, they not so subtly hinted that they weren't just ordinary video chats, writing, "You will be talking to real successful fashion models with exciting backgrounds. Many are big aviation fans, so you will have a lot to talk about. You never know. Vote win, chat. You never know.
That's a
The
creepy
allusion to
saying
sex was
right
way
there.
more prevalent on the site than even on the channel.
With this line seeming to hint that winning these video calls could entail some sort of
Never
sexual
know.
encounter with a deal attendant, which only seems to bolster this theory even more. But unlike the channel, here we're at least given a bit more context as to why these women or deal attendants are being used. And according to the site, it wasn't as sinister as it seems. Under the business section, which is used as an FAQ for companies wanting to promote their deals on Aviloop, they wrote, "What is the deal with deal attendants? As a business, you have the option to include a professional video of one of our stunning models on your deal page for a flat fee. She will deliver a 30 to 60 second message describing your promotion. Our deal attendants are real professional models who work for high-end clients. Why should I include a deal attendant? Although our promotions get a lot of exposure, adding a deal attendant has the potential of making it viral on social media sites. Promotions that include a video tend to be extra successful." There's a lot to unpack here. For starters, this explains how Aviloop makes their money. They're basically charging companies to run ads using these deal attendants, and the videos on their channel are examples of what these ads would look like. Though calling them professional,
So there's only 2 models. I just realized that as they were scrolling through the videos, it's just the same 2 over and over. So, and like they don't really, like, I don't know why, but when you watch the videos, only their face moves, like their arms and stuff. They don't move at all. It's creepy as shit.
is extremely generous. And
I might check the channel out after this to see if it still works. I gotta see if this shit's real. Like I want to read the comments on these videos.
Imagine any companies actually wanting to use the service. And given that these are the only videos that they shared, I don't think many, if any, actually did. But in this explanation, Aviloop is all but admitting to using these deal attendants to rope people into visiting their website, over-sexualizing them to lure in perverted internet users, giving them false hope that they'd be able to interact with these women and maybe even sleep with them. And in exchange, these users keep coming back to the site under this false hope, which maybe could lead to them purchasing something. It's an insane business model, and one that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, they're claiming that this is a service for professionals and real aviation fans, for the primary reason of making our skies safer, yet they aren't actually offering anything but the prospect of talking to women.
Yeah.
These women are the main and really only draw of the service, and even the deals that they did list seem to contradict the primary goal of this company. I mean, how would a trip to the museum help with aviation safety? And how would a temporary tattoo help with that either? And on the topic of these tattoos, they're also extremely sexual in nature. They were meant to mimic pilot stripes and be put on your shirtless shoulders, with a package reading, "When a uniform just won't do," and the description adding all sorts of innuendos.
And this is a good time to
Uniform
point out
just
just how
won't do.
strange the writing is across the entire website. As here they write, "What better way to thank a pilot than by saying, 'Captain, you deserve to have your epaulets tattooed. We wish someone had these on board of the Miracle on the Hudson flight. Just imagine the look on the pilot's face if someone handed these to him. So why not keep a pair in your wallet and thank the Sully in your life for the next flight? Every safe landing deserves recognition, and this gift is sure to make their day.'" Everything is written like this. It's not only sexual, it's also nonsensical, and feels like it was written by AI at a time when AI wasn't even a thing. Everything about Aviloop feels wrong. The lack of any tangible goods and services, the overly convoluted business structure, and the lack of any public customers just makes this company appear so fake. But that doesn't inherently mean that they were actually involved in pornography or prostitution. I mean, despite all these innuendos, there is no direct mention of the sale of sex anywhere on the website from what I could see. And unfortunately, much of the website is lost to time, as in 2016 the site would go down, replaced by another random URL, making it impossible to know what this platform was actually like for those who signed up for it. What were they actually being offered? What were they discussing amongst themselves? And what happened on these video calls? It's all unknown, as what I've shown is pretty much all I was able to salvage from the Wayback Machine. However, Aviloop didn't stay down forever. In 2019, Aviloop.com re-emerged, only this time it looked very different. Gone were the deals, the business model, and most importantly the deal attendants, and in its place was what looked to be a generic template website. They still claimed to offer some of their services, but they were now left even more vague, and there was no attempt to even make it look like you could purchase anything. Even the innuendos were gone. It was quite literally as bare bones as it gets, and comes across like a sham website.
Jesse,
void of any
welcome to the
notable
stream. How you
information.
doing, bro?
With one exception. There was a single new addition to the site, as at the very bottom you could find a short bio. not of a deal attendant, but of a legitimate pilot named Nadia Marenko, the creator of Aviloop. This revelation is huge, as Nadia Marenko was a well-known and extremely successful pilot, which makes Aviloop all the more confusing, as you would think that her involvement in the company would help legitimize it, and make it seem more likely that Aviloop was a real company after all. But instead, it actually did the exact opposite, as her involvement plunges this mystery into a whole new depth, a depth far darker than we've yet to discuss. Born in Czechoslovakia in 1986, Nadia dedicated her younger years to modeling, landing multiple high-profile roles in her country. And by the age of just 15, these roles led to her being moved to the United States to help continue this budding career. But by 20, her interest had shifted to a different kind of runway. She became obsessed with flying and had a natural talent for it too, quickly rising through the ranks and gaining certifications faster than most others could at that age. By 25, she was considered extremely accomplished for someone so young, and her resume would soon reach a wider audience when she began leveraging social media.
I don't like the awkward silence.
She posted videos under the alias Gulfstream Girl, and eventually Global Girl, where she marketed herself as a supermodel turned pilot, which worked to the tune of millions of views. Nadia Marenko was a star in the aviation world and on social media too, and it was during the height of this success that she started Aviloop. It clearly wasn't meant to be some big secret either. She actively promoted it on numerous occasions, doing interviews on podcasts and even taking it to a trade show. If this was a front for something nefarious, she was doing a bad job of keeping it discreet, which seems to back up our first theory. And it would be very easy to settle on that theory and just call it a day, had being a model and a pilot been all that Nadia was known for. You see, there was something that she was hiding from her audience, a secret in the form of a bond with one man whom she was working closely
Oh no, you spoiled it for me.
with at the time that Aviloop was launched.
Oh no.
A man by the name
He makes his way into everything nowadays. Jesus Christ.
of Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh God.
Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on new sex trafficking charges.
Charges of soliciting and procuring minors for prostitution.
He was involved in trafficking.
Well, this only can make sense now because, you know, 2026 and Epstein files are everywhere.
Young women and children over to Little St. James.
In case you're somehow unaware, Jeffrey Epstein is the most prolific pedophile and human trafficker maybe of all time.
Yeah.
He carried out a large-scale human trafficking operation, bringing children to his private island that he and other elites exploited in horrific ways. It's one of the biggest news stories of my lifetime, and over the past years there's been so much talk surrounding the acquaintances of Epstein, who is connected with him, and how close were they. But of all these people in Epstein's circle, few, if any, were closer to him than Nadia Marenko.
Oh, okay. Okay, so she was like close to him. Okay. I knew about Trump and Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and even Stephen Hawkins. I didn't know about this chick until now. Oof.
It's a difficult subject to discuss, but Nadia is considered one of Epstein's victims. He found her through her modeling job when she was just a teenager.
And she didn't just come to the United States for work. Epstein himself brought her, after allegedly purchasing her from her father.
What followed was Nadia becoming his self-described sex slave. It's a horrible and unimaginable fate, but while Nadia appeared to have been a victim of Epstein, that wasn't all she was, as after becoming an adult, she also became Epstein's accomplice.
Ooh, wow, this took This took a major turn. Are we still talking about airplanes? Ooh.
When Epstein was first investigated by the FBI back in the 2000s, many of his victims came forward and claimed that Nadia was not only present for their abuse, but she was a willing participant, there to satisfy Epstein's criminal sexual desires by, on occasion, directly participating in sexual abuse and prostitution of the minor girls. Now, Epstein was eventually given a sweetheart deal for these crimes in 2008, which led to him serving just 13 months in prison. And as part of that deal, Nadia was given complete immunity, meaning she never faced any sort of repercussions for her use of children. But despite being a free woman by the time that Epstein was thrown in jail, she stood by his side, living in his New York City home, waiting for his release. And while he was behind bars, Nadia would visit him roughly 70 times. These two were deeply connected, even well after she was his slave, with Nadia even making a scrapbook for Epstein, which is just so terrifying that I had to at least mention it in this video.
Oh my god.
It would be several years later in 2012, a time when Nadia had long since left Epstein's home and his control, that Nadia would rejoin his operation, this time with a brand new role. She became one of Epstein's pilots, taking victims and perpetrators alike to and from the island, on the plane they dubbed the Lolita Express.
What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
Nadia Marenko was
Oh
directly
my
trafficked.
god. I gotta show this to Schnoz. Dear God.
Taking children for Epstein, and she was doing this in 2012, mere months after she started Aviloop. Which brings us to our third and most upsetting theory, that Aviloop wasn't a cover for prostitution, but rather a front for child trafficking and pedophilia.
Oh my god.
Nadia's involvement alone and the timing of the company's launch, mixed with all the innuendos, the red flags, it all starts to make sense. And it's made even more disturbing when you look at the videos they posted on YouTube, as one thing I failed to mention so far is just how young these deal attendants look.
Yeah.
There's obviously no way to conclusively determine their age from the footage, but some believe that they look to be teenagers, and maybe even underage, which would make sense for this theory, as the deal attendants wouldn't be prostitutes, but rather child victims. It's a theory that has to be considered. I mean, as crazy as it seems, Aviloop was quite literally founded and run by a child trafficker who was actively trafficking children when the company started.
And Nadia wasn't the only sketchy character involved in the site behind the scenes.
I know I keep pausing it, but this just tells you how sick this fucking world is, buddy. Like 2011, 2012, this Epstein was not on my mind, buddy. I was thinking about playing football and going outside every day and, you know, playing with toys and, you know, going to school every day and going on vacations and stuff. Like, it's just so, now that all this is coming out, it's so, like, it makes you wonder, like, has this world ever had was there ever a good time in the world, you know? This shit is, like, vile. It's, like, it's disgusting. There's no words to describe this. You know, it tells you that even when we were having good times as kids and young adults, the world was a terrible fucking place. Terrible fucking place. I agree, Mike, I agree.
Epstein himself was as well. The two frequently emailed each other, and in multiple instances, Aviloop was discussed, with Epstein frequently giving her advice. In one email, he wrote to her, "Website is cool, mix of porn, Groupon, and flying. The marketing campaign could be, buy with us, we give a flying fuck." His mentioning of porn here is just more confirmation that Aviloop wasn't just an aviation company, but this also shows that Epstein was helping with the company, and he wasn't just doing this through friendly advice. Throughout his emails, you can also find dozens of receipts from transactions with Aviloop, totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars of payments sent directly to the company.
Holy shit.
Jeffrey Epstein was an investor in Aviloop, and a big one too, and he seemed to believe in the service so much that he even appeared to use it himself, as emails show him inquiring about booking flights through the company. Nadia at one point even offered to help Epstein through Aviloop,
writing, "Is there anything I can do for you? I can find a deal through Aviloop on anything you want. Airplanes, helicopters, cheapest charters, discounted fuel, or a new model/assistant."
She's literally offering Jeffrey Epstein a model through Aviloop, which more than hints at this theory being possible. I mean, she spells it out. And if they were in fact trafficking children through this service, this could give us a blueprint to how they were able to get their victims. Maybe they were finding models and having them fly out under the assumption that modeling is all they would be doing. Maybe these videos were even their tryouts for their roles, which they did without even realizing what was to come. I mean, these women were referred to as models.
Oh my god, that just makes it even worse. Oh my god, they think they're doing a model gig. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's still 8 minutes to go on this fucking video.
On the Aviloop website. And remember, modeling is exactly how Epstein found Nadia. And it's also how he found so many other victims, as he was known to use the modeling industry as a means of recruiting young and underaged women, offering them high-paying jobs and potentially career-making opportunities, in order to lure them in. So maybe this was all part of the operation, or maybe Nadia was simply taking a page from his book, and using the same style of entrapment that he used on her. It's so disturbing to even consider. And there's one more email that I believe is the most disturbing of all, that could allude to their alleged trafficking. An email with the subject line, "Old Hairy Coconuts." "I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, and they just arrived. Very yummy. I was going to ship them to you in Paris, but I hear you are coming back, so I will send them to 71st with Sarah, just so you don't have to drink juices from old hairy things."
Okay. As sickening as that was, when they said old hairy coconuts, I almost laughed. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. I'm guessing old hairy coconut means his balls. That Pizza, you still watching, bro? Pizza, I'd love for you to join the VC so we can talk about this. 'Cause I would like to hear your commentary on this shit.
Epstein was notorious for using code words in his messages, and it's not hard to see what Nadia may have meant by sweet young coconuts. So was it a joke or was it a coded message? It's hard to say, but this email was sent on November 13th, 2011, just 2 months after the launch of Aviloop.
Welcome to Aviloop, your collective find website for anything aviation.
So what was Aviloop? Well, to this day, we still don't have a true answer, but everyone has their theories, and most of them are not good. Many legitimately believe that Aviloop was a front for child trafficking, and I can see why. The connections and the strange material on the website and the channel make this impossible to write off as just some crazy conspiracy theory. And if this theory were to be believed, it makes the Aviloop YouTube channel that much more disturbing, as these videos would be advertisements for a human trafficking service that potentially included the victims as the stars.
It's also possible that this was a hub for prostitution, and while sex work doesn't always mean human trafficking, just given the players involved, that would definitely still be a concern. There's also still the possibility that Aviloop was secretly a porn website, like Epstein seemed to suggest in his email, with this content perhaps occurring on those one-on-one video calls. And there was one email that I found that was sent from Epstein's assistant, Story Cowles, that makes this feel even more believable, as Epstein asks him what he was up to which Story responds, "Just playing online at Aviloop. Porn rain. Love it, love it." The way these people communicate is just so weird and hard to decipher, but playing online at Aviloop certainly seems to suggest that this wasn't just a typical Daily Deals website. And if porn really was the draw, I think given the secrecy of it and the people connected, I would still be very concerned about where they were getting these actresses, and if they were even of age. Nadia's legal team has pushed back on these theories, claiming she was merely Epstein's victim and nothing more, and someone who allegedly worked at Aviloop claimed that the ad campaign was merely meant to be provocative. And that's all. But this just feels so hard to believe. And regardless of which, if any of these theories are true,
I believe
it seems so
in
obvious to
theory.
me that
I
Aviloop
believe
was
it.
never meant to just be a normal company. I even question if perhaps Nadia had created Aviloop as a fake website, which Epstein could then funnel money into in order to make it look like Nadia was earning legitimate income, something that she needed to prove in order to get her US visa, which her emails to Epstein show she was clearly struggling with. And she seemed to allude to this at least being part of her reasoning for creating Aviloop in the first place, and part of the reason why she was asking Epstein for money. And ultimately, the only way she ended up getting that visa was through a deal that she made with the FBI that involved her informing them on Epstein's crimes. Her work directly helped lead to his 2019 arrest, and his ultimate death inside his jail cell that same year.
And it was around the same time that Aviloop went back online, with its fresh, scrubbed look, void of anything even close to being sexual. And since then, it's never been updated again. And there's hardly been any updates from Nadia herself either. She made a brief appearance in a 2019 YouTube video, where she pulled a prank on a flying instructor,
Acting as an inexperienced student, only to surprise the instructor with how skilled she was, with Nadia going as far as to dress as a child.
But since then, her trail goes pretty much cold, and once the Epstein files started releasing around 2024,
she disappeared from the public eye. Bizarrely, from that point on, the only trace of her seems to have come from images and videos from a monastery, which she seems to have joined.
Nadia Marinko's work with the FBI and the immunity that she was given all those years ago makes it feel unlikely that she'll ever be prosecuted, or even investigated for whatever this whole operation was. The reality, though, is that we don't know the full truth about Aviloop, and it's involved in one of the most twisted and deep rabbit holes in human history. A rabbit hole filled with so many layers and cover-ups and corruption that I just hope that somewhere within all of it, we can eventually find an answer to the question, what was Aviloop? But until then, it will remain one of the darkest mysteries, not only on YouTube, but across the entire internet.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I actually have a super last minute update here. I'd completely finished this video, but there was something that was still bothering me. The question of who were these deal attendants? I initially tried looking for information that could give us an ID, but everything was just wild speculation. But I decided to give it one last look, and I'm glad that I did because I actually think I identified two of them. I found an article that reported one of them as being a woman named Shannon Cusack, which explained that Shannon was actually a friend and maybe even roommate of Nadia at the time that she was starting up Aviloop, and at the time of filming this ad, she was actually in her mid-20s. It seems like she might have just been helping Nadia out at the time of this. She even listed the job on her LinkedIn supposedly, though it's now since been removed. The other deal attendant that I might have found was Ashley, and it was actually thanks to a YouTube comment. And what's interesting about her was that she was a model, but she was also in her mid-20s around the time of filming this. And based on her blog, she continued to have a normal modeling career and seemingly normal life after her time working with Aviloop, before she sadly passed away from cancer. And from what I've seen, there isn't much to hint that she was ever a victim of anything Epstein related. This is huge because a lot of people were falsely claiming that this girl was Ashley Martinez, a missing girl whose family is still searching for her to this day.
Shit.
But this doesn't appear to be the case. The only deal attendant that I wasn't able to ID was Claire, who does happen to look the youngest. But knowing now that these other women were of age, I feel more inclined to believe that maybe the women shown on the channel weren't actually victims of the operation, or at the very least they weren't children. But obviously I can't say this for certain. And that's not to say that that wasn't happening behind the scenes, of course. This just adds another layer to this mystery.
Is that supposed to be Jeffrey Epstein's face right there? That's creepy. Okay. That. This was, so compared to the first one, wow. Alright, boss, I'm gonna go to bed. If I can't even sleep hearing this sick story, lol. Alright, bud, have a good one. Thank you for joining. I ain't gonna lie, that was quite disturbing. I was gonna look up the channel. I don't even feel safe looking up the channel. I've seen these videos already. I'm trying to think, have I seen these ones? Seen these two already. I don't think I've seen these yet. I think Pizza is no longer with us. Either he's on Roblox with your boy Jorge, or he's falling asleep on your boy. Alrighty. Let's watch another one. Just make it even harder to not be terrified. Is that Richard Simmons? Alrighty. Ah, Canva app. Canva, sponsor your boy. Out the door.
It's the 22nd of November, 2019.
Oh boy.
A Ring doorbell begins recording as a young girl approaches a home in the Harriet Creek Ranch neighborhood of Texas. It's pitch black out and the girl is seen all alone, which by itself is strange enough, but it's moments later that this footage becomes truly concerning.
Help, please.
Okay. I was just wondering, Pizza, the Avi Loop, bro. The video we were just watching, bro. I don't know if you heard what happened. That shit got dark, and I mean, it got terrible. Like, it makes the first video we watched. The video was like 10 times worse. Link me the video. Should I full screen it? Alright, we're at 40 seconds. Go back to watching. So I can watch it for real. I remember that shit was fucking dark. Already appreciate it. I'll watch it on streams over and I'll let you know what I think about it. Appreciate you. I got you.
Please help.
This is terrifying.
She was begging for help, pounding her hand against the door, all the while continuously turning her head around, as if she was expecting someone to come up behind her. The footage then comes to an abrupt end, only to start again seconds later. But this entire time, no one answers that door. The wait was just too unbearable for the child, as she then took off. Yelling incoherently in the street before running out of view of the camera. Frustratingly, this footage was only viewed by the homeowner well after the fact, and reports seem to indicate that this was a property that they rented out rather than lived in, with it being unoccupied on that night. But after seeing the video, the homeowner immediately contacted law enforcement and shared the video online in the hopes that more information would come forward, as it seems that neither they nor the police had any idea who this child was or why she needed help. But since these clips were first shared, these questions have still yet to be answered, at least publicly, as there have been no updates from law enforcement. Along with this, there have been no accounts from neighbors about the incident or any footage from other homes in the neighborhood, perhaps implying that this was her one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, leaving us with only theories. The first and most popular theory is that this girl was an escaped victim of kidnapping, or perhaps an abusive household, and had run to the closest home to ask for help. We've seen situations like this many times before, with the most popular example at the moment being the case of Ruby Franke, whose son escaped their house and ran to their neighbor for help.
Wondering if you could do 2 favors, taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
This certainly falls in line with this girl's behavior, as she was clearly scared about someone or something following her, hence why she kept looking back. And given that there have been no updates to this case, and that seemingly no one else saw her that night, it would indicate that whoever she was running from had recaptured her shortly after. And what makes this theory even more horrifying is that many online users believe that this girl isn't the only person shown in this footage.
Help, please.
The Asian kid
As in the
from Scary
background,
Movie.
some can see what appears to be movement behind the bush, and potentially even a figure.
Please help.
And this just so happens to be the direction that this girl is looking in every time she turns back, almost like she knew someone was hiding there. Which brings us to our
That's
second
even
theory,
creepier.
that this entire thing was a setup. The belief here is that this girl was coerced into going up to a stranger's home to beg for help, so that when this unsuspecting homeowner would open their door, those people who made the girl do this would then rush into the home and rob the person. This could explain why she was looking at that bush so frequently, as that's where this person or these persons would have been hiding, and she was looking to them for guidance, perhaps unprepared for the homeowner not to open their door. Both of these theories are disturbing in their own right, and both clearly indicate that this girl is in need of help, regardless of what the situation is. But still, there's been no confirmation as to whatever happened to this child, even despite the public interest. One of the biggest talking points online came from some theorizing that this girl might be Serenity Denard, a then 9-year-old girl who had gone missing in February of 2019 from a children's facility in South Dakota, who looked eerily similar to the child shown in this video. But in my research, I was able to find a Facebook post from one of Serenity's mothers, who shared that they were in fact aware of the video, and that they had actually contacted law enforcement about it. And in her post, she claims that investigators told her that the girl had been identified at some point, and that she had lived in that neighborhood, with there being no further elaboration as to why she was asking for help. This is quite literally one of the only updates I was able to find, but unfortunately, it was one that
She looks, not gonna lie, am I wrong for saying that if I were in a situation, I would have not opened the door? That's the thing. It's like, you can, so this camera, this probably is a Ring doorbell camera. So if I were in this situation, there's a kid at the door begging for help, I would probably answer the camera first. Hear what she has to say. And then, I'm not saying I would come to the door armed, but I would come to the door with the expression that something could happen if I open this door. And in case, like the video said, that there's someone maybe right here, which even like watching this video, thinking there's someone right here is terrifying. Like, terrifying to me. Like, you're not wrong, but like, I feel like if you do answer, you gotta answer this door with some sort of weapon, some sort of thing, in case this is a fake help call and this is a robbery. I'm like, it's more so that I'm hella paranoid about things. A little girl in the middle of the night begging to come in. Hell no. Yeah. So like, that's just the unknown, bro. That is the unknown question of this video. It's like, what would you do in this situation? No idea, because this was 2019. That's the scary part about this video. You don't fucking know. Also, Pizza, if you want to join the VC to chat with me about these shits, go for it. It's up to you though. But yeah, scary shit right here, bro.
It wasn't able to confirm, and it also fails to explain what exactly.
Also, not to mention when the video kept cut back on and you can see her staring at the camera. Like, I thought like this video was gonna, like, he was gonna have a theory at that being a skinwalker or something, bro. Scary shit.
Happened to this girl, leaving this footage and this entire scenario as one of the many mysteries of the internet.
That is terrifying.
Throughout my time here on YouTube, I've stumbled across some of the most frightening things on the internet, but one of the discoveries that scared me the most was my own personal information, just out there in the open on random sites that could be accessed by anyone. This either.
This is your home. The smartest way to protect it? LP SmartSide Siding. It's siding tough enough to handle real life, including the occasional oops from your kids. It's strong, stylish siding engineered to last. That's smart.
Tonight, in your spacious La Quinta suite, you can be the agent of destruction. We get it. You've been building connections all day. Go ahead, demolish that personal record. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine.
What?
It started with a police chase. An officer parked alongside a highway in North Amsterdam had witnessed a black Mercedes speeding down the road and was now desperately trying to keep up with it. But the effort was to no avail, as the Mercedes would soon disappear from the officer's view. And when it would come back into view minutes later, it wasn't moving. It was instead left abandoned on the side of the road, the driver's side door hanging wide open, and the driver himself being nowhere to be seen, leaving that officer alone with the suspect's car, but no suspect. However, the vehicle hadn't been left entirely empty, as in the driver's rush to flee the scene, he had accidentally left his cell phone behind, and so the contents of this phone would be searched, which quickly led to the discovery of this driver's identity. But for investigators, there was a far more pressing finding on that device. A finding in the form of a minute-long video stored on the man's camera roll that indicated that this driver may have been involved in a crime far worse than just speeding. The footage was taken inside a different vehicle and showed an unseen driver holding up his cell phone alongside another man in the passenger seat. The camera was focused on a car in front of them, with both men seeming intent on catching up with it, as in the moments before this recording started, something had happened between them, which the men inside this car felt they had to get revenge for.
Voor ons net hebben brutaliteit met ons gemaakt. Deze mannen voor ons hebben net brutaliteit. Raan, maat, ze gaan hier. Raan!
they referred to this unseen incident as an act of brutality by a group of men in this other vehicle, and by the looks of it, it's likely that this car had simply cut them off, as there was a freshly closed lane in the stretch of road at the time, which created an unexpected merge. And this is most likely what this group inside this separate car thought too, as they were showing no signs of road rage, and were instead just casually driving with the flow of traffic. However, it's clear that the men behind the camera felt differently, as in their minds, what this other driver had done to them was so awful that it was worthy of only one punishment: death. And so, this duo inched their vehicle closer and closer to this anonymous car, while continuing their rambling about this act of brutality. And when they finally positioned themselves next to the vehicle, the man in the passenger seat brandished a pistol and pointed it directly at the driver of this vehicle. The footage from here is incredibly shaky, and the window had been rolled down, causing the audio to peak and become distorted and indecipherable. Because of this, it's hard to say for sure what happens next, but it appears that the man holding the gun attempts to fire the weapon before pulling it back into the car, cocking the revolver once more, and firing again. To which both men erupt with laughter and begin celebrating, before the recording stops. Based on the footage, it's unclear what happened to the driver of this vehicle or the other occupants, and finding this information became priority 1 for law enforcement. In their research, they determined that this video was shot on May 12, 2014, at around 9:40 p.m., 1 full month before they had stumbled upon it, and it had been taken on the A1 highway near entrance 2101. And yet, when they checked their files to match this information with any of their cases, they realized that there was no record of this incident. This crime had never so much as been reported, despite it seeming to depict a shooting in the middle of a busy highway. To make matters more confusing, police were able to track down the men who took this video and carried out the actual attack, and yet neither of them claimed to know what happened to the people that they shot at, and both refused to elaborate any further, leaving investigators in a strange position. They had undeniable proof of a crime, one that at the very least was attempted murder, and they also had their suspects. They just didn't have any victims. And so they studied the footage even more, which is when they made a disturbing revelation about these victims. Throughout the video, the perpetrators refer to the people within this car as a group of men, and while the footage we have today has the occupants' faces blurred, they were able to conclude that the driver was in fact a man. However, they discovered that the passenger next to him is clearly a woman wearing a headscarf. And most shocking of all, in the back seat was what appeared to be a child, meaning that they had been shooting at what, in all likelihood, was a family. Police released this video to the public later that year under the name Amsterdam Schiet Incident Ringweg A10, or Amsterdam Shooting Incident on Ring Road A10, where they revealed this footage but disguised the voices and faces of the perpetrators for unknown reasons. And in releasing this, they asked the public to come forward with any information that could help identify this family. They asked for witnesses on the scene, car repair shops that may have fixed a car with bullet holes, any hospitals that had shooting victims on or around that day, and most importantly, they asked for the family inside this car to come forward, as without their testimony, convicting these men was nearly impossible, as it wasn't fully clear what crime they'd even committed. That was 11 years ago, and to this day, no one has come forward, leaving us with only theories.
Damn.
The first theory is that the people shot at in this footage may have been undocumented immigrants, or perhaps one of them had a warrant out for their arrest, meaning that if they were to report this crime, or if they were to have gone to the hospital with a bullet wound, then police would have certainly got involved, and in turn they would have gotten in trouble as well, essentially forcing them to stay quiet as saying anything would put their freedom in jeopardy. Another theory is that the shots may have simply missed the vehicle, and the driver decided not to report it, with some believing that this whole situation was no big deal. But to me, this doesn't seem like something that would be so easily brushed off, especially because a child is involved. though it is possible that perhaps this family was afraid to report the crime, as they clearly knew how dangerous these men were, and feared that reporting this crime would only further put a target on their backs. And finally, there's the theory that this weapon never fired at all. This is where the audio peaking becomes a major factor, as it's extremely difficult to make out the sound of gunshots, as the gun was literally outside of the vehicle when it was seemingly being fired. But it is worth noting that investigators working the case seemed confident that the weapon fired at least once, and I also personally hear a distinct popping sound at the end. But it's hard to say for sure, and it also is possible that this group was using blanks, with this all being an attempt to trick the other driver into thinking that he was in danger. But even with these theories, we still have no idea the fate that befell this family, and it's clear that they have no desire to come forward, for reasons we just don't know. Which leaves the Amsterdam shooting video, an internet mystery that may never be solved. Urgent, I need help, please. We are from BSAS West Zone, Castelar, San Juan neighborhood. Her name is Emma Rosario Kalk, who's been missing since Friday, June 12th. If you saw her, please call. Any information will be appreciated. This post was made to the subreddit r/Argentina on June 16th, 2020 by a user named u/NaramNaram, who asked for the public's help in finding a missing woman named Emma Kalk, and in the comments he would offer more context, saying, "She went out to buy something and never came back. She was last seen here in the neighborhood. Sanchez and Pavan is the area where she went to buy something. She was dressed in the clothes that she's seen in the photo. She was carrying her wallet with her ID and a cell phone." Quickly, the post was inundated with concerned citizens wanting to help in the matter, with the gravity of the situation being made even greater, as earlier that day, Naram had made a similar post, which revealed that Emma Kalk was actually his mother. This revelation only made the post more important, as people left comments offering support and encouragement, with many even providing advice on how he could potentially track her down, to which Naram seemed genuinely grateful. Across the entire internet, this seems to be the first post ever made on Emma's disappearance, but it would be far from the last, as people spread this information far and wide almost immediately after Naram's post, which was also followed by several local news reports, which proved that Emma was in fact a real person and was in fact missing, with these articles mentioning something that her son had not, that she was feared to have been taken. The only thing we know for sure is that she went into her house, left her bike, and for some reason went out but did not come back in. Apparently, she did not leave on purpose, and that is what worries us the most. Things were clearly very concerning, and the tension of the situation only increased as a day passed, and then too, with Naram vowing to keep everyone updated on the status of the search. And sure enough, right after this update, Naram's missing mother would finally be found. The worst news, Emma Rosario Kalk was murdered. She had been missing since June 12th. Her son killed her with stab wounds and then buried her in the backyard of his house. He was arrested. Rest in peace, Emma. Emma Kalk had been found dead, murdered and buried in her own backyard, with the perpetrator allegedly being her own son, Daniel Kalk, who had confessed to stabbing her once in the chest and then twice in the head before burying her body in the backyard, with a motive never being given. The ending to Emma's search was disturbing, but perhaps the most shocking part was the revelation that she was killed by her own son, 20-year-old Daniel Kalk, which immediately called into question Naram's Reddit post, as he had claimed to be Emma's son, leading many to wonder, was Naram the killer? And so, desperate for clarification, someone commented, "By any chance, are you 20 years old?" To which Naram actually responded, writing simply, 25, before eventually leaving the following explanation. "Apparently, it was my brother. That's what the police said when they declared the crime." This would mean that when Naram had been making these pleas to find his mother, in reality, not only was she already dead, but she had been killed by his own brother and buried in their backyard. It's one of the most chilling things I've ever come across on Reddit, but the intrigue of this case doesn't exactly end here, as there was something about Naram's story that wasn't quite adding up. Just days before the disappearance of his mother, he had left a comment on an unrelated post saying, "When I was 8 years old, I wanted to ride a bicycle without hands, according to me because it was easy. I was on the street, dirt, and I let go of the handlebars, and here I am at 19 years old, with the handlebars marked on my abdomen." In his own words, Naram wasn't 25, but instead 19 years old, and potentially 20 years old by the time his mother was found, which put him at the exact age range as Daniel Kolk. This prompted a wave of speculation and confusion and spawned the enduring mystery: who exactly is Naram? While making things even stranger, digging deeper into his posting history, you can find another comment where he claims to have been working the same job for 6 years, which seemed to contradict the idea of him being 20, thus prompting even more confusion, which eventually caught Naram's attention, who responded by stating,
"I didn't write that. It must have been my brother. I don't use this social network. I only used it twice for a work issue and now because my mother disappeared. This account is not mine."
This recounting of events made Naram's initial story even more twisted, as if this was true, then not only was it his own brother that killed the mother he was looking for, but he was literally using that same brother's account. And again, this gets stranger. Around the same time, Naram would thank the internet for its help on the case, and then proceed to swiftly disappear, leaving the account untouched for over 2 years. But this silence would be broken in 2022 when they suddenly returned, with their posts being slightly unhinged, gloating about their internet status and bizarrely lashing out at random users who questioned him on his past and present motives. And in these ramblings, he would drop the bombshell that he wasn't actually Emma's son. He now claimed to be Daniel's best friend, writing that he allowed Daniel to make the post on his account to spread the news about his mother's disappearance, which he was completely unaware that Daniel himself had caused. This was the last real update in this case, and it only threw more fuel on the fire of this mystery, with people wondering what version of events, if any, were true. When I hear about this case today, many seem to believe that the entire time Naram was actually Daniel Kolk, and he had made this post to make it seem like he was searching for his mother, and perhaps to even use any given advice to help conceal what he did. As remember, many were offering suggestions on how to find her, which Daniel in turn could have used to essentially do the exact opposite, to help make sure that she was never found. This is tricky because the account posted briefly after Daniel was supposedly arrested. However, the status of this case is entirely unknown to this day, as there have been no updates as to whether or not Daniel was actually charged, with some choosing to believe that this was him the entire time, and perhaps he was even held in prison for a few years before being released, thus explaining his 2-year absence. Another theory is that Naram was initially telling the truth, and that he was Daniel's brother, and that he was simply using the account to spread word of his mother's disappearance, before eventually abandoning it. And perhaps the most recent posting on this account was because it may have been hacked, which would explain the massive tone shift. Or maybe it's the most recent version of events that's the right one, and that this is actually Daniel's best friend. But why initially lie? And how do you explain the apparent inconsistencies in his age that are found throughout his posts? Exactly. This entire internet mystery is one of the messiest I've ever come across, and nothing seems to make any sense, with the most inexplicable part being the very real murder at its core. A mother who was killed by her own son for no apparent reason, and given the lack of updates, it's hard to know if justice was ever served.
That's terrifying.
It took several months for Angeline Pete's family to report her as missing. She had a long history of leaving home for extended periods of time, running off to join the circus and hitchhiking rides all across the Vancouver area, before eventually returning home to her normal life. But this time it felt different. None of her friends or family had heard from her since May of 2011, and it was now nearing the end of summer. This was especially odd considering that Angeline was known to be constantly texting, as well as updating her Facebook profile, with that profile now sitting completely dormant. But within that page filled with your typical selfies and normal life updates, there was one post that stood out, the final post she ever made. This photo was posted without context on May 20th, 2011, a day that just so happened to be the very last time that the vast majority of Angeline's friends and family members had heard from her. And when looking into the context of this image, her disappearance only becomes more concerning. That night, Angeline had been drinking with her fiancé Robert Calden in downtown Vancouver, and while the two were waiting to catch a ferry back home, something had sparked an argument, which eventually led to a full-on physical altercation. This fight caused such a stir that eventually police would arrive on the scene, where they noted that Angeline's lip had been busted, leading to them placing Robert under arrest. Though in the end, no charges would ever be filed, as Angeline refused to give officers a statement and instead insisted on just going home, which led to the whole thing seemingly being dropped. it was directly after this that Angeline would post this photo to her Facebook account without any sort of context, before proceeding to disappear into thin air. Her motivation for doing this isn't 100% known, but one could assume that she was trying to make a record of this attack, perhaps in case something were to happen to her. The timing of this is more than a little suspicious, and paints a horrifying picture of the potential fate of Angeline. That she had been murdered by Robert Caldon as a result of their fight on the 20th of May. It's a case that seems as straightforward as it is disturbing, but that's only on the surface, as there was another factor at play here, as when the police stopped this couple from fighting on that fateful night, Robert wasn't the only one facing jail time. Angeline was no stranger to abuse. She had a long history of it herself, with her ex-boyfriend claiming to have suffered dozens of black eyes throughout their relationship, which had ended years prior. This violent behavior often stemmed from her trouble with alcohol, and Robert was clearly one and the same, with the two forming an extremely toxic relationship that often ended in one or both of them getting hurt. It was all too normalized for the pair, which was highlighted by one of Angeline's final texts, where she wrote, "Gee, my lip hurts. I hate him so much that I love him." Now, I do want to make it clear that this is in no way meant to come across as victim blaming, but this is vital information for this case, as Angeline's history with violence had landed her in prison numerous times, most recently in 2009 when she was arrested for getting into a massive bar fight. This arrest in particular is noteworthy, as it carried with it multiple conditions, one of which was that Angeline was given a 9 p.m. curfew, and the other was that she was not allowed to drink, with both of these conditions being broken on the night of May 20th, when police intervened in her and Robert's fight. This meant that Angeline was now likely going to be reincarcerated, and sure enough, that same night, officers arrived at her home to question her on the matter, but she failed to answer the door, which led to a warrant being made for her arrest 5 days later on May 25th. That day, a squad car pulled up to Angeline's apartment to bring her into custody, but when police entered the home, they would only find Robert, who just so happened to be on the phone with her. And officers claimed to have spoken with Angeline during that phone call, where they advised her to turn herself in, though she claimed that she was no longer in the area, and eventually hung up the phone. This would be the last time that officers would speak to Angeline Pete, and seemingly according to Robert, she returned home and left the very next day on the 26th, and never came back. This whole revelation muddies the water in this case, and provides us with our second theory, that Angeline Pete had run away to avoid reincarceration. But there's something unusual to me about this phone call with police. Now, there's hardly any information about this case online, but from all the articles that I've read, it seems that no one in Angeline's life had heard from her after this photo was taken, with the exception of Robert. And when police spoke with her, it was only over the phone. They too hadn't laid eyes on her since the night of May 20th, prompting some to wonder if Robert had arranged for some sort of decoy to make this phone call. Though, however it happened, since that phone call, there has been no activity on any of Angeline's online accounts, and she has never deposited or spent a single cent from her bank account. From that point on, she's been essentially invisible. That was 15 years ago, and today we still have no concrete answers as to what happened to Angeline Pete, with some taking this as a sign that something sinister had in fact happened to her, as how can you go that long without leaving a trail, and without at least trying to come back? Especially in Angeline's case, as she was a mother. Angeline had a 7-year-old son who was by far the most important thing in her life. At the time she went missing, this child was staying with her father, Angeline's former partner, but she still played an incredibly active role in his life, and she wanted to be as involved as she possibly could be. And yet, after 15 years, she's made no attempts to try and reach out to him. Again, people have taken this as a sign that Angeline has perhaps been killed, and it isn't just Robert who they think might have done this, as some believe that she may have been killed by someone that neither they nor Angeline even knew. As I mentioned previously, Angeline had a habit of hitchhiking, and she was known to do so in a way that was overtly dangerous. And interestingly, there were some unconfirmed sightings of Angeline after she went missing, with some reportedly seeing her in Port Hardy and Grand Perrier, areas that she would have had to catch a ride to. Now again, these are totally unconfirmed sightings, but what's so chilling about this is that if she had been hitchhiking through those areas, then she likely would have found herself doing so along Highway 16, which is now known as the Highway of Tears. Without getting too deep into this stretch of road is notorious for its disproportionately high number of women who have gone missing on it, and especially Indigenous women, with Aboriginal organizations claiming that as many as 40 Indigenous women have been killed or kidnapped while on this stretch of road. And coincidentally, Angeline was an Indigenous woman herself, who may have found herself hitchhiking on that very road. Evangeline's disappearance is one of those cases that you can convince yourself that every theory is right. But as of right now, there's just no way to know what truly happened to her. And while this is an internet mystery for us, for Angeline's family, this couldn't be more real. Many of them are suspicious about Robert and believe that police didn't do a good enough job investigating him, as he was never even considered a suspect. But they also hold on hope that Angeline is still alive and out there somewhere, and they'll often hold events and vigils to keep her name in the spotlight, and to assure she knows that she can always come back home. And it's this hope that has fueled her son since she disappeared, as all throughout his childhood he played hockey as a way of helping to find her, with one family member saying, "That's why he wants to play hockey. So if he gets famous, his mom will find him."
Aww. That's why he wants to play hockey, so if he gets famous, she will find him. Oh, that's sad. I feel like I need to watch some funny stuff, some funny videos. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Almost 4 in the morning. We've been live for just a little over 2 hours. Alrighty. Should we do one more video or should we cut the stream off now and I just like, I guess like focus on other stuff? I think we're gonna cut the stream. You know, this shit was dark. I'm gonna watch some funny videos and then probably go to sleep soon. So thank you guys for watching. For the people who did come out, appreciate you guys. We will try to stream tomorrow. Maybe do another reaction stream, something a little early, because I did start this stream a little late, so yeah, I gotta get my streaming time back. I think streaming around 9:30 to like 10:30 that's the good start time, especially Friday and Saturday. Starting that around that time might do me well. While starting at 1:30 on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, not great. In other words, thank you guys so much for watching all that stuff. I'll see you guys next stream. Breast milk. Never had it. Want to try it. That sounds weird as shit. I like Twizzlers.